Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Connor Williams, and we're back with another one of our 24/7. We're back with another one of our live streams. We've got a bit of news to break down today. I might be joined by a guest later on as well, so keep your eyes out for that. We look forward to that as well. But yeah, we're just breaking down some of the rumours, some of the talking points of the week, and there've been a couple, like the title says. Lucas Digne being linked to Newcastle, Mykolenko almost certainly coming to Everton. I know Fabrizio said it's a matter of the club announcing it, and whenever they do that, is the club's prerogative. They'll probably keep that as in the good news bank for the next loss. No, I don't know when they're going to announce that. They probably. I wouldn't be surprised if they waited till January because he can't play till then anyway. But here, you never know, do you? Looking at who's joined us today, though, for this, we've got Inky, who straight away has put, if Digne goes to 2, that just says everything about Benitez. To be fair, if their owners completely do a mad one and sack Eddie out, there'd be no point selling him to Newcastle because he'd only go back. Rafa would only go there to join him at one point. Which I still reckon Newcastle's owners have the type of mentality to, it's not working, cut the cords. I think they're going to be quite, until they get a director of football in, I think they're going to be shades of us, where a lot of money, not a football brain behind it, and it's a lot of cutthroat decisions made here and there, managers getting cut left, right and centre. So I wouldn't be surprised if Benitez ended up in Newcastle by the end of this season. The guest is not Kevin Campbell. Just putting it out there before, it's a good guess, but it's not Kevin Campbell. Reading this as well, Dan Taylor's put, as long as we make a profit, I'm happy on Lucas Digne. Yeah, that's the other big talking point, isn't it? If we are going to sell him, how much for? I hope it's a good fee. If we are, I don't want him to go, but if he is going to go, I want it to be a good hefty. Well, not hefty because he's 28, isn't he? So you won't get massive amounts for him, they reckon. But I hope it's enough. I hope it's enough that that can be spent in other areas. I hope it's just not get him out the door, really low ball pricing, see you later, done. Because that would just be a disaster in my eyes. Inky's put, Digne has been linked with every club except Norwich, City and Liverpool. Yeah, I mean, Chelsea would be a good one for him. Chelsea would be a really good club for him. I could quite see him going there. Good afternoon to Wormy as well. Nice to see you, mate. Inky's put, we don't want to sell him for over 37 million. If we don't sell him, we've been scammed. I don't think we're going to get 37 million for him, in all honesty, boys. I don't see that happening. Wormy's put, so long as we get decent money and spend it well and not buying Ramsey for starters. Yeah, that's the big issue with sort of, sell it any time Everton have money, it's what you're going to spend it on, but especially if you're using money that you've just sold a really good player for. Speaking of which, my guest has joined me. It is James. You're right, James. Nice to see you, mate.
Hi, mate. You all right? You good?
Yeah, I'm very good, mate. We're just on the topic of Lucas Digne and his potential move to Newcastle.
Right, okay. Very interesting. I hadn't actually heard of those links, but yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, give us your thoughts on that. I can't see him going there, surely, but...
No, I don't think so. That's literally the first I've heard of Newcastle, to be honest. I've heard of a couple of other teams, but I can't see him going to Newcastle. I think that would stink, to be honest with you. I've seen they were linked with Luca Paqueta from Lyon on 800 grand a month, I think it was. So you're seeing stuff like that, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm not so certain. I think he'll go to a Champions League team, to be honest, if he's going to go anywhere.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that one of them that's been touted around is Chelsea. I actually think he'd do quite well at Chelsea.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they'd obviously have to probably lose one of the other wing backs they've got out wide on the left. But yeah, I think he's probably going to have one more big move. He's nearly 29 now, isn't he? So I think someone like Chelsea. I was struggling, to be fair, to think of a team where I thought really, really suited him. And I think Chelsea's probably as close as you're going to get, to be fair. And I think he's good enough anyway. We know he's good enough to go to somewhere like that. So I think that probably sounds about right to me.
Give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts on the actual selling of Lucas Digne. Are you for it? Are you against it?
I'm only for it if we can sort of double our money. I think he was about 18 million, wasn't he? So I think if we can get 35, 36, plus million for him, then I'd be happy enough if we get a lad in who's obviously, I think he's 6 years younger than him from the Ukraine, from Ukraine, should I say. I think we have to get someone like that, double our money. That's the way we're going to get out of the mess that we're in. I think I tweeted about it the other day on the Bad Blues account, saying that's how we're gonna deal with this. Buy players, flip a big profit on them, and then replace them for someone cheaper. We can get someone who's obviously can play centre back as well, which I think this lad from Dynamo Kiev can. Then all the better to it, I'd say. So long as we sell him for good money, he's got a few years left in his deal. I just hope we don't alienate him to the point where teams come in and say, well, you're not even playing this lad, so just take 20 million for him, whatever. We've got to make at least 10, 15 million profit on him, I think.
Yeah, I was just saying today, I'm a bit worried, especially with the rumours that he's fell out with Benitez and that article from The Athletic about Xabi Alonso and Benitez falling out. I've got this horrible feeling we're going to take whatever offer lands on the desk.
I think it's hard, isn't it? Because you just like to think the powers that be have got to say to them, look, we've got about 4 sellable assets at this club for any real money. And then maybe 1 or 2 we could flip for a couple of million more than what we bought them for, or for, in some like Mason Holgate's case, 6, 7, 8 million, whatever. I think Lucas Digne is definitely one of those. We wouldn't take anything less than, I don't know how much for Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison. It's got to be the same for Digne. Got to say, if you want to sell him for anything, it's got to be at least 35 million, I think. And I hope the people who know what they're doing, I've got to just say, look, we're not going to sell him for any less than that. You've got to start putting him in the team. You've got to get him in the squads. We can't alienate him. We can't let him go for cheap. We can't let it happen. So if Benitez comes in, isn't here for ages, and actually manages to lose one of our sellable assets for nothing, in the grand scheme of things, I'd be really disappointed.
Do you buy into the rumours of him and the manager falling out? And if you do, give us your thoughts on all of those.
Well, I mean, he came out and denied it, didn't he? Which I thought was interesting. He said on his Instagram, didn't he? That you shouldn't believe everything you read. The Athletic, you feel like they're a really good source. It does sound about right. I don't know why Benitez would say what he said about Godfrey playing well or whatever, and then you go play centre half at left back. That doesn't make any sense. So I'd be shocked if it's not true, to be fair. I've seen, you're then seeing stuff that says stuff like he's been angling for a move for a little while now, which is interesting. Whether that's true, I don't know. I thought he was quite happy at Everton. He seemed quite happy at Everton. He seemed like quite a respectful player as well. So I'd at this point be shocked if it's not true. But it'd be disappointing if it is, because it is going to leave us open to potentially losing for less than what we should. Because even though he hasn't been great this season, I think we could have easily asked for 35 million minimum. Whereas now I think that's the kind of maximum fee we're probably going to have to look at, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah. Like you said, he seems like a very good professional player. And he signed a new contract not long ago, didn't he, as well? Which gave me the assumption he was quite happy at the club. And hopefully, like you said, would encourage the powers that be to push for more money if he's literally just signed a contract. Speaking of the Ukrainian lad that looks to be his replacement, do you know much of him? I must admit, I didn't really know a lot of him.
No, I've never heard of him, to be honest. Being totally honest, I've never heard of him. I did see a graphic, one of those like footy nerd graphics, which was just a bunch of lines and dots and stuff on bar charts and graphs and everything, which I didn't fully understand, but I appreciate that those look like good numbers. I think a lot of people are saying he's more a centre half. He's been playing left back. He could end up playing there. Maybe he's not quite got the height for that, maybe, or whatever. I'm not too sure, but just from the clips I've seen, he looks good. I think I saw Henry Hill from Football Daily tweeting that he's been banging on for ages about him, and he's shocked that it's Everton who's going to get him, which is a good sign, I think. You've seen people who play FM saying, "Oh, there's one of my go-to signings gone," which is like another one where you think, sure, that can only be a good sign. So yeah, I think it seems like quite a smart move. I haven't probably watched him, and he has been linked to some other big clubs. I'm all for it personally. I wish it was a right back, obviously, but as I say, dream scenario, we move Dean on for 30 to 40 million. We get this lad in. We start the cycle, a couple of years, sell him for 40, 50 million, whatever. That's how we're going to get better. That's how we're going to improve finally. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm one of the he looked good on FM, so he can't be that bad, surely type people. But I think we've seen the same graphic going around on Twitter. From what I read of it, and like same as you, it was a bit bars and dots and a bit too much going on one bit of a screen for me. But from what I've seen, he's a lot better defensively or a lot safer. But his crossing isn't as good, which is what I think that's what we know. We all knew we were going to lose in Lucas Digne, his delivery. Um, do you think how do you think that's going to affect us as a team? Bearing in mind when Dominic Calvert-Lewin's back, and even when he's not been here, we seem to be very much a whack it to the wings, cross it in type team.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think we've got I think statistically the best striker in the air in the Premier League. Trying to rack my brain, think anyone better than him in the Premier League at the minute. No one comes to mind straight away. Someone like Olivier Giroud probably would have, but obviously he's moved on. So I kind of just think that we've got someone like that. We signed Andros Townsend, who again statistically has been a really accurate cross over the last few years. We had Lucas Digne already, and I just kind of think we could well waste Dominic Calvert-Lewin a little bit unless he sort of morphs his game to be a bit more than a bit of a target man or someone to hang the ball up to or whatever. I think we would probably lose, like you'd say, overall. But I'd say this season he's not got an assist. He seems to play more defensive. That's what I think he seems to feel as well. So it's interesting because I think maybe we'd lose an attribute which he hadn't really used much of anyway this season. Lucas Digne through whether that's through Benitez, whether that's through his poor form, I'm not entirely sure. So it's an interesting one. I think we have to just wait and see how he gets on. He is only young. We want him to improve, want to get better. So we'll see the way that the manager kind of wants to use him. But I think overall, this profile looks quite promising to me, I'd say.
Yeah, it does. It looks okay. I've been corrected there. It was ball retention that he was really good at. Somebody has clearly seen the same graphic as us, which is Erwin. Yeah. Thank you, Erwin. It was ball retention that he's better as. Speaking of which, I must admit, the one thing I will say about Lucas Digne, obviously, I've just said he's not as good defensively as he is going forward, but there seems to be this sort of idea that he can't defend at all, which if I'm not mistaken, he's up there for tackle percentage completed this season already. He can defend. He's just a lot better going forward.
Yeah, I think he's better defensively than you give him credit for. That fans give him credit for. Rather overall, I think he's an absolutely fine defender. He wouldn't be in the France team if he wasn't. You look at obviously Didier Deschamps not been playing. Theo Hernandez there. He's been one of the best left backs in Europe past 2-3 seasons, but defensively he's not solid, and that's why he's not been picking him. That's why he's been picking Lucas Digne, I think. So I think if he's good enough for Didier Deschamps to play as more of a defensive fullback, then that probably tells you all you need to know. I think he is better than what we give him credit for. I think overall, as a team, we've just been quite leaky, quite poor defensively. So I think he's just been part of an overall fairly poorish unit at the back. Certainly something you can improve. I think overall, would you say he's more of a attacking or a defensive fullback? He's much more an attacking fullback. And it sounds like this Ukrainian lad's more of a defensive fullback. So I think that's probably the kind of switch up Benitez is probably looking for.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact this lad can play centre back makes him that little bit more versatile as well. And it opens the door to potentially, if I'm looking like beyond Benitez, because I can't see him. I can't see him lasting the season personally. But if he does, he won't be here for 2. It opens the door that somebody else could use him in a 3-back, in a 5-back, which previously we've not had the best record with, but. It does add that versatility for him, and it just gives us a little bit more options in defence, which this season and last season we've proved we've been playing a couple of players out of position and dying for a bit of versatility back there.
Yeah, we definitely need that. I think square pegs and round holes have been a massive issue with us the past couple of seasons. If we are going to be cursed with this injury luck forever, then we need to get players who can play in at least 2 positions, you'd like to think. So absolutely, I think if he can play as a centre half in a 3-back or a 5-back, whatever way you want to look at it, I think that's a big boost to us. And as I say, just players who can play in more than one position. That's what we desperately need, because we've had too many players who can only do one job, or if they're doing a second job, they're at the weak point. They're nowhere near good enough. So we need players who can slot in all over the park now, I think. And again, I can't even think what this Ukrainian lad's name is. I couldn't pronounce it when it was in front of me, so I'll just keep calling the Ukrainian fella, but that's what he seems to be able to do, so that's what I like to think.
Yeah, and apparently it's a done deal as well. Fabrizio Romano said it's all done and dusted, and it's just a matter of the club announcing it. When we were on about that before you came on as well. When the club will decide to announce it is, I mean, anyone's business.
Yeah.
It could be tomorrow, could be next week, could wait till January, could wait to see how well the Boxing Day results go.
Yeah.
Might
Could
pull
just
him
wait for
out at
another
turf war.
lockdown and then he wait for another lockdown and then watch him go to Arsenal. That could also happen.
Yeah,
Rising, yeah.
exactly.
So you never quite know. It is weird though because, as I say, Fabrizio has been tweeting about it. So yeah,
And like
strange.
normally when he does it, I mean, I saw someone call him a tapping merchant of journalism the other day, which is quite good because he never normally, unless it was the one where he said that Nuno was coming to manage us, he'd normally get it nailed on. And even
Yeah.
that was, a last minute pull out by us. So he
Yeah.
seems to be quite, reliable.
Yeah.
Along with the new centre back, left back lad, we've got the news that David Weir might be ready to rejoin Everton in a player development role.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? I know he's been at Brighton and he's done quite well there.
Yeah, well, I was on the train actually when I seen that pop up. I mean, I was still on the train a couple of hours later, and then I was looking to see if there's any update, and it looked like it probably wasn't going to happen. So I think it's quite interesting to see what's actually going to end up coming of that because it seems to be a really good job at Brighton there. Development. They seem to have a new player every week I've never heard of. They seem to have lads coming on constantly who their squad numbers 45, 50 plus every week. So it feels as if they've got their youth development and their youth integration sort of down to a T, and that's what Dave Unsworth's role seems to be. I think everyone was saying, so long as you were to do that when he comes here, then that would be perfect, rather than trying to mould him into like some sort of director of football role, which is what I think happened with Steve Walsh, who grabbed the head scout and made him a director of football, who's just never going to welcome back to it. Whereas I think Dave Unsworth, if he can come do that, I'd be absolutely made up with that because some of the loans you've had the last few years have been shocking as well. I can't think of any that have really developed players. If you look at Anthony Gordon last season, went to Preston, started off really well, and I think they changed manager, which is a bit unfortunate. But I think sending players to teams whose manager look like they're going to get sacked, and sending to crap teams like Sunderland when they got relegated, they had a couple of our players, and that kind of feeling. I want us to be able to have a proper sort of pathway, get lads out to good teams, get players playing minutes. That's what we really, really need at Everton. So I'd be made up with that, to be fair. I think people have got this assumption that it's sort of jobs for the boys or whatever, which is fair enough, I suppose. But he's not Franny Jeffers, he's not Leighton Baines, he's not Jose Baxter. He's gone out, he's done his work, he looks good. Get him in as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and that's something I think fans have been, angry at for quite a while is the fact that the youth development, some of these players that are coming up just either don't make it, like you said, they go out on loans, it doesn't work out, and they get released in the end, or they get sold, to like Kieran Dowell. I remember, hearing brilliant things about how he was going to come through the team, or they end up, or some make it, like John Joe Kenny and Tom Davis, but even then, you could find, a majority of fan base who reckon that they're not good enough for Everton, even at that point. So it's quite an alarming problem, the lack of, players that reach our full first team. So if you can help with that, I mean,
yeah, I think that's just what we're going to need because it's I think as well it's getting players who are it's finding a balance between, does this lad need to go out on loan? Yes, because he's ready to play men's football. Sound, get him out. Is this lad ready to play men's football? No, probably not. Keep him in the youth team for 6 months. All this won't matter though. We keep Dave Unsworth in charge. It's got to be a completely clean slate. Get Dave Unsworth out, whatever that means. Paul Tate comes out from the 18s, the 23s. Whether go get someone new, I don't know what the solution is, but any idea of getting players into the first team, getting them out on loan, integrating them into men's football, it has to be overseen by a whole new setup as far as I'm concerned. Dave Unsworth will be a good start to that. Dave Weir, will be a good start to that. So it's interesting, but I think we do need to revamp the whole thing, and I say Dave Weir coming in will be a nice start.
Well, funnily enough, the club is meant to be on this sort of evaluation, aren't they? And there's rumours that they want to streamline the club a little bit better. I, to be fair, nobody knows to the extent of what a streamline is, but this certainly looks like it. If he's coming in and we want to streamline, I can see a couple of people potentially losing their jobs. Um, so, and obviously David Unsworth is one of the first people that could be on the chopping block as head of youth development. The other interesting one is the director of football. That's still not been addressed, but apparently we're still after a director of football. Give me your thoughts on sort of that sort of logic of looking for a director of football after the last two going a bit wayward.
Well, I mean, again, it's pointless. Similar to Dave Weir, I think it's pointless unless you make changes, and the changes have got to be Mashiri steps aside, Bill Kenwright hopefully leaves entirely, but at the very least steps to the side and just let someone come in and just dictate everything. I don't know who it's going to be, what names. I think Stuart Webber's meant to be leaving Norwich. I don't know where he's going or if anywhere, but he'd be a really nice pickup. Lucas Digne is still unemployed after being at Lille and being at Monaco. Lewis Compost, so I think he'd be interesting. It's one of these strange ones though, where you're looking at it and you think, why have you got rid of Brands if you don't know who you're going to bring in next? Who is doing this evaluation? Because if it's Mashiri, he hasn't got a clue. So it's interesting to think who's actually completing all this. I would have thought Brands would have gone out, and the next day they would have said, this lad's coming in now because this is who we want to bring in full time. He's going to now oversee everything else. That's what we needed. So I would stick with the director of football model. I think that works the best. So we'll have to wait and see, but I think we should stick with it and give it a go properly this time.
Yeah, I agree, and both names you mentioned there are very good. Campos was my favourite to get away if I could pick, but I do agree with you. For it to work, it's got to be the director of football's got to have full control, along with the manager, obviously, and work with the manager. But you can't have the likes of issue like Kenwright bringing in Rooney, for example, happened under Brands' watch, and Mashiri bringing in Iwobi, it happened under his watch. You can't have interfering like that because it'll just leave us in a worse position.
Yeah, definitely. I think once you have non-football in mind interfering with football, you're in huge trouble. So, as I say, whoever comes in, but this may be why it's taking so long. Maybe they're saying to people, look, you can come in, but there's going to be restrictions or whatever, and people don't want to work like that. Wouldn't be surprised if Benitez is sort of shoving his oar in as well, which would be a big issue again. I want to know who scouted this Ukrainian lad. That's it's whether that was Greta Stein, whether that was Brands, Benitez. I don't know. It's one of these interesting ones where we look like we're making a really forward-thinking signing, but yeah, we don't have a director of football in place. The recruitment teams all over the gaff. People are leaving. Greta Stein and another lad just left as well, didn't they? So. It's interesting to say. I would definitely stick to that role, and it's got to be done properly this time because neither the other two times they were mockeries of the whole model. I think so. I'll stick to it.
Yeah, hopefully it leads on to better things. One of the players we were linked with back in the summer that I think a couple of fans are sort of hoping will go back for now is Patterson from Rangers, who obviously is a right back. Although saying that Maitland-Niles isn't up to much either. After being promised the world by Arteta. So would either of them, would you be happy with either of them if we decided to go back and sort of, twist their arms again?
Yeah, definitely. I think Angel Maitland-Niles is a good one. You talk about people who can play multiple positions. He seems to be able to play sort of all over. Nathan Patterson, I'm not sure how much he's played. He has played a few games, played for Scotland a little bit as well. So again, I can't attest and say I've watched much of his football this season, but absolutely, either of them, I'd be all over them. I think with Maitland-Niles, he probably fits Benitez a bit more. He's a bit more experienced, played in the Premier League before. He'll have a sort of point to prove a little bit. You talk on being promised well by Arteta, who's played absolutely no football since the summer. It's been a shambles, to be honest. I don't think he's good enough to play in the Arsenal team when it's at full throttle anyway. So I think that's fair enough. But as soon as they signed the right back, I can't believe they didn't get rid of Maitland-Niles. I find that bizarre. The sort of thing Everton could never afford to do. But this is a situation where we need to be where we've got lads coming out of the academy who are worth probably 10, 12, 15 million. They're not even getting in the squads. Like, that's where Everton need to be. That's where Liverpool are. That's where Everton need to be. That's where Chelsea are. I appreciate these are much better ran and overall bigger clubs and better teams than we are, but that's got to be the goal, hasn't it? We've got to have these lads who are sort of kicking about wanting to play football. They're 22, 23 years old. They've got good market value, got good age. Someone like Maitland Niles will be I think likened to a lot of Premier League teams because he is quite versatile. So I'd be all over either of them if they were still available or someone we were still pursuing.
Yeah, I mean, Inky's put here in the chat about Livramento from Southampton. I've heard rumours, again, it's paper talk, that we were interested in him in the summer. Apparently, I think it was Brands took him and Denzel Dumfries, and Benitez said that he wanted Trippier. Classic Everton style, we ended up with none of them. They're the rumours that were going around. And looking at it now, I mean, slightly, but Livermento's ended up being quite a good signing for Southampton on loan.
Yeah, I think he's been absolutely fantastic for them. Sorry. Sorry. And he was there, obviously, first game of the season. He looked great against us, I thought. Looked really skillful. I liked him straight away. I'd never really heard of him before. It was the night before someone mentioned him. I knew he'd gone to Southampton. I looked at some of his clips from his under 18, 23 days at Chelsea, and he looked like a good player. And I think once you got someone like Reece James in the team, you don't need the likes of Livramento and whoever else playing right back. You've got such a good one there straight away. So yeah, I think that would have been a great signing for. I don't know how much Southampton paid for him, but I don't think it was much at all. And that's the kind of signing Everton needs to be looking for. But as you say, Benitez is more interested in Trippier, and there's no hope for any of us, is there?
No, I believe today is rumoured to be going to Newcastle. I think Ornstein had mentioned it. So
he must be desperate to get out of Spain then, Christ.
Yeah, I was going to say that apparently we're interested, Leicester are interested, and United are like the biggest club that linked with him. But I don't know if that's changed under Ragnick. I can't see him being his type of player, just because I can't imagine getting that intensity from him. We've just put here on the Toffee Blues that we're told that it was Livramento was a done deal, completely done deal, and Benitez said no. Which
it's boggles the mind, isn't it? Absolutely mental. Al, you can't just say that'd be perfect as well because you wouldn't have to play every week. Could have Coleman there to fill in. I don't think Coleman's anywhere near good enough anymore, but I think you see a difference in him when you get to a couple of games rest. I think you do see a bit of markable sort of difference in how he plays and how good he is. But Benitez, we're on a hard and off with him, I think. So that's a big worry. And if we're turning our nose with players like that, then we haven't got much of a chance, I don't think.
No, and while we're on the case of the man in question, because a couple of questions have been coming in about him, mentioning him. Benitez, I mean, the first one's Benitez in, Benitez out. I think that was asked by Inky, which is interesting enough. Are you, has he won as well? It's hard to say has he won you over with 2 wins in 2 months, but give us your thoughts on Benitez so far, and if you were happy at the start, if you're happy now.
Definitely got no interest in Benitez, to be honest with you. I wasn't interested at all when we brought him in. We looked good at the start. I think when we got our full team back, he keeps on saying we're better in the second half of the season. His Newcastle teams are always better in the second half of the season, so that's what I'm hoping for. At this point, I don't really care. It's more just get us away from the bottom 3, then move on, because we are just really, really poor at the moment. After that Arsenal game, we played well. We were the better team, deserved to win. Went to Palace and we just looked awful. I know it was 2 individual errors and then obviously a refereeing error which led to the 3 goals, which is unfortunate. But overall, we were just terrible, weren't we? And there's been too many games like that where we've gone into it, no plan, no sort of system, no sort of impetus in the game, and we just kind of limped out and been well and truly beaten. So I'd say I'm out, but I don't really care. I just want us to get away from the bottom 3 and then sort of work on it because we are a bit of a mess right now.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of people, obviously it was sort of starting to rack up against him in quite a bad way, and I think he's saving grace, to be honest, because the fans are starting to, turn his banners again now. 2 wins in 2 months is atrocious. I think he was saved a little bit by the Arsenal game, and we did play well, but I also think Arsenal boggle my mind because we watched them one week and they're doing really well and getting good results, and then you watch them against us when we've been considerably poor and we just played them off the park in every way. So Arsenal are just a phenomenon that I just can't get my head round. I think that saved him though, and I think the draw against Chelsea, even with all the kids, that saved him a little bit. And the fact that we've had Leicester was cancelled this weekend, I think has saved him a little bit more. Do you think he'll last the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think you talk about Arsenal. I said to someone in work the day after, I was like a Harrods version of us. Like, they are just crap and pathetic and awful, but they they'll go on a good run and then lose the game they should never lose. Yeah, I think the last couple of weeks have been better for the Chelsea results. Whilst I didn't watch the game, I think like a lot of Everton fans, I was at the cinema. It was a great result. Obviously, a lot of the kids playing. I think if we hadn't had the Palace result, then I think everyone would feel a bit more upbeat now. But yeah, to be honest, I think it'll last the season, get to the end of it, and then so long as we have completely revamped behind the scenes, just move them on. Just forget this ever happened. But I've said that about Koeman, said that about Allardyce, said that about Silva to a degree, even Ancelotti in some ways. It was like just move it on, start again, and we can't keep doing it. I think he will probably end up lasting the season, but I do desperately want him to move on and to get someone better in.
Yeah, I mean, the next part of the season for him is very nice. We've got Burnley, obviously, and then we've got a couple more games, and I think Norwich are involved in that. Aston Villa, who 2 months ago I'd have said, I fancy that a little bit more, but now that Gerrard's gone there, I can imagine he really wants that more than anything. But like this will be the crunch time now, especially if he gets Dominic Calvert-Lewin back. They'll sort of be like nowhere to hide for him. Can't hide behind the injuries. Can't hide behind the tough run of games. You should be picking up points.
Yeah, and as I say, I think his Newcastle teams are always a bit better after Christmas. I think he normally tried to play in a certain way, he couldn't do it. Would only bring a player or two in, and then they go on a run. And towards the end of the season, his Newcastle teams are always quite difficult to play against, I feel. I remember they beat us from 2-0 down under Silva. That was sort of in the second half of the season, around March time. So I feel as if we will definitely improve going the second half of the season. I think if we can play like we did at the start of the campaign, where we had sort of 4 or 5 good performances and got some good results, then we'd be all right. But I do just feel like we're staring into the abyss of him. Like we're never going to be any better than what we are, and we need a manager who can sort of really punch above expectations and get us from here to here, and then really start to build on something.
Yeah, a bit like I don't want to say project, because ever since Majiri took over, we've heard the word project in Everton, and the only thing that project seems to be is a new stadium, which is fantastic. But I think fans were hoping for a little bit more than a shiny new home. Yeah, I take it you've watched Spider-Man at the cinema.
Yes, yeah, I did, yeah.
Out of 5?
I don't know. I don't really like doing films out of 5. I think it's a bit short. But I don't know. To be fair, they're not going to like this. But I haven't seen the other two. The other two that Tom Holland's done. Because my girlfriend asked me wanted to go, and I was like, well, yeah, okay, go on. You guess me, I'll watch the match. So that's fine. I went to watch the first one. I have since watched the first one because I did enjoy the third one. So out of 5, I'd give it 5. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. It took me back to when I was a kid seeing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield as well, so that was good. But overall, yeah, great. Enjoyed it.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Good to hear. Yeah, so obviously, unfortunately, back to Everton and all the bits at B. Obviously, you mentioned, get to the end of the season, get away from the top, the bottom 3, sorry. There is this certain idea that we could, a couple of people have said we're going down, could go down. Is this a worry for you? Do you think that is a possibility, or do you think we've just got that little bit better quality than the teams below us? That the likes of Norwich, Newcastle.
Yeah, that's one of them, isn't it? It's like we went on this run, and everyone said we're going to be in the bottom 3 by the end of this run, and it hasn't been as bad as we thought it was going to be. We picked up some points and what have you. So no, I'm not that worried. I think we're like 7 points ahead of third from bottom, maybe something like that. So it's one of them. It's very hard to say. I'm not as I'm not as pessimistic as some Evertonians. I think we are probably better than I see Leeds, for example. Leeds are absolutely terrible. got very lucky to draw against us, I felt, at the start of the season. Burnley don't look good. Norwich, Newcastle, Southampton, they're all worse than us, I'd say. So, and I think the lads on Thursday show that they've got a bit of spirit about them as well, and that's what kind of saves you in these scenarios. So, second half season, pick up points against the teams below us. I think we'll be fine in the end, but that shouldn't be the conversation, really, should it?
No, and I must admit, Leeds are on a really bad free-falling run at the minute as well. But I agree with you. You know, we shouldn't be aiming, especially with the money, 500 million invested, you know, in transfers alone, and we shouldn't be looking at the bottom three and thinking we've got that much quality. That should be sort of guaranteed when you spend 500 million. Really, I know they say nothing in life's guaranteed, but when you spend that much money, you expect to not be anywhere near the bottom.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I could get your thoughts on, obviously we've mentioned the board, we've mentioned Majiri, Brands, get your thoughts on sort of the protests. Obviously there was the 27 for 27 minutes for 27 years, and there were, I think there's another one planned, or there was, and there's been, you know, sack the board sort of sheets with writing on. Give me your thoughts on them, and do you think they'll have the effect that fans are hoping for?
It's one of them, and I think there's no smoke without fire. And since these have started, there has been changes. I think once the zone starts worrying that there's going to get bad publicity and that there's going to be people not turning up for games, and they're going to lose money, they can lose revenue. I think as well, a lot of neutrals are seeing Everton in a really bad light as well, which isn't good for him and his image. One of my friends was completely against all of the protests and the 27 minutes thing, especially. I didn't walk out myself, but I was in favour of it. So it was just one of them. I just didn't really want to go at the time. We were playing all right, and I wanted to sort of be there. I think we had a corner as well, didn't we, in the 27 minutes? So that was quite interesting.
Yeah, like whiz past, didn't it? Like any touch it could have gone in.
Yeah, and I was saying that's what I think everyone's saying all day. Imagine if we score in the 27th minute, but so I am completely for them, and I think they seem to have had a good impact so far. So I think all the power to the people who are willing to do it, and if you go all the way down to Chelsea on a Thursday night before Christmas, then you've got all the right in the world to protest and be angry about what you're going down to watch. Yeah, I'm completely for it, to be fair.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned there has been change since not just, you know, we did see Marcel Brands go, but I'm sort of on the idea that might have been more for his outburst with the fan on his way out than anything else. Do you agree, or do you think he was going to go anyway?
If I was him, I'd just be sick of Myri's shite, to be honest. Like, I think Marcel Brands will get a good job anyway. We've got a handsome payout, I'm sure. I don't think he's the kind of guy to walk from Everton, but I think he probably could have walked any time over the last 12 months. And I think, whilst you couldn't properly hear what he said, he seemed to say, is it just the players, or you kind of read into it, you think, well, does that mean, is it him? Is it Ken Wright, Benitez, Baxter, Unsworth, you know, everyone? So I think it was probably down to that, and that kind of put it in light. And again, as I say, once over, you can start getting shared around. If the club in a bad light again, and Myri definitely won't want that, will he? So especially if he was the one to say, for example, obviously those rumours at the time that he wanted to sell up his shares, then you think he doesn't want the club looking like that. He's going to want to do that as well, for example. So I think there's a few different reasons for it, but I think the main reason was probably his outburst and the fact that he kind of insinuated it wasn't just the players, it was everything at the club's just rotten. So I think it probably was down to that.
Yeah, I'm sort of obviously when he was sacked, we did a live stream. A couple of people here were mentioning he might sign a waiver, stopping him from, you know, going to the press and just absolutely ripping us a new one. I don't know if he did. I part of me sort of hopes he didn't, just because I feel like that's sort of the only time we'll get a proper, transparent sort of telling of what goes on behind the scenes at us. Other than, you know, hearsay and the Athletic report a couple of things, but that would be a real, you know, from the horse's mouth type thing. Would it be something you're interested in, or is it one of those where you'd rather not know?
I'd rather not know, to be honest, because it would just worry me, to be fair. But I think from the perspective you're sort of speaking of, then yeah, I think get out there, let everyone know how much of a circus we've been. I say it would worry me, but I think it'd be interesting, and whether it's something he can't talk period, whether he can't talk to the contract finish, whatever. I think it will come out in the end, no matter what he's done, whether he just said I don't want to, whether he bit of a gentleman's agreement, I don't know. It'll be interesting because I think he could really, really ruin this year if people find out what's going on behind the scenes. There were little bits that came out where people were saying, if you go to Everton, you have to talk to 6 different people if you want to try and get a player down to there and stuff like that. So there's mega issues, and I think he could really expose them if he wanted to. So it'll be interesting, but only time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah, one of the like lads that apparently you have to go through is that agent, Kia. Is it
Yeah.
Yeah, which is absolutely mental that a football agent should have any sort of say on that. It's beyond me. And obviously his links with Arsenal and Mashiri's links with Arsenal and the fact that Iwobi's come from Arsenal, it just all seems a bit, I don't know, daft and a bit seeded, really. But yeah, looking at a couple more of the transfer rumours that we've got this one's been linked, I think, since Benitez took over, whether it's because they had he plays for Newcastle or there's any truth in it. It's Longstaff, and it's not going away. We've had this discussion with the people on the chat a couple of times. What do you think of Longstaff? Is he a player you like? Is he someone you'll take at Everton? Or
I think he's. I've got no opinion on him, to be honest. I would have seen. I don't know how many Newcastle games since I think it was Steve Bruce who put him into the team properly. I think Benitez might have gave him some games as well, actually. I think I've seen him and Matty Longstaff play a few times. I couldn't tell you anything they're good at, anything they're not good at. They're just quite beige footballers, I think. I don't think they're ever going to be sort of top level. I don't think they've got any distinguishable features. It's one of those, I mean, at the end of the day, you would say to him, well, you can come for, I don't think he's even playing at Newcastle at the minute, is he? So if it was to be a nominal fee, see if we can get him on track, then whatever, I don't know. But I'd be kind of surprised if Everton ended up going for him. He's been out the spotlight for a little while, and I think he'll probably just fade away, the pair of them, to be fair. I think Matty Longstaff might be on loan somewhere, maybe, I'm not sure. But I think the pair of them are just quite average, to be fair. I wouldn't touch them myself.
Yeah, well, it's never a good sign if they're not getting into the Newcastle team, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really hope we don't touch this. Someone was saying the other day he's like a really rubbish Decore type player, and I was like, but you don't want really, really rubbish versions of the players we've got. You want better versions of what we have, not God knows barrel scraping of them. One of the ones that has interested me, and Erwin's asked a question, and it's in a wider perspective as well, is that we seem to be playing a formation that you'd ideally want a number 10 in. Yet we don't have an actual number 10 at the club anymore for, James Rodriguez going to Saudi Arabia. No, that is right, isn't it? Qatar. And the other one just that we don't speak about. So would you take Ross Barkley at Everton?
No, to be honest with you, I think he's. I think Chelsea fans can't stand him from what I see. I've seen someone did like a quote tweet and it said it was like something like the game's been abandoned because the game's been paused because 2 idiots ran on the pitch. And like a lower league team tweeted that, and it was like a picture they quoted it of Barkley and Saul coming on the other day, and I was like, yeah, that kind of sums it up. But he didn't want to play number 10. He didn't want to play for Everton. Yeah, wouldn't touch him with a barge pole. He's played a lot more than I thought he would this season. He played quite well against, I think it was Burnley earlier on the season, maybe in a home game. He played quite well for them, from what I seem to remember, and did a couple of decent appearances for them. But nah, I wouldn't touch him. He didn't want to play for Everton. I don't think he can come back either. I wouldn't go anywhere near him.
Well, yeah, I agree, Bo. I completely agree. I don't think he's good enough, and he's not the player that he once was. And also, I think he's just trouble carries with him a bit. His attitude wasn't that sort of stunk, and I don't think the fan base need anyone else who's going to split them either. I think there's enough splitting. Speaking of which, though, Inky's mentioned one number 10 because he says there's not many decent number 10s around anymore. Probably because people are playing 4-3-3s a lot of the time. Teams are trying to aim that out. But he does mention Coutinho. Again, I think that'll split the fan base. But is he a player you'd like the look of?
I wouldn't even think of him as playing for Liverpool, to be honest with you, because I think he's played for them quite a while ago, and it wouldn't be that. I don't think he's very good anymore. Like, if you can't get in this Barcelona team, then yeah, Christ, he must be pretty average now. Brings quite a lot of baggage in terms of he's been around about Europe. He's getting on a bit. Again, these are the nightmare names for me: the Barclays, the Coutinhos, the Longstaffs to a degree. The lads who are not necessarily Longstaff, but certainly the other two getting on a little bit. Not very good anymore. We've got enough of that crap on the books. Just don't touch either of them, as far as I'm concerned. But that's just me.
No, yeah, I agree. Every time we do a 24/7 news video, it seems that we're for every 22-year-old Ukrainian fullback we're linked with, there are about 5 big named European 29 to 34-year-olds that are chucked in there. The other one being Aaron Ramsey. He's heavily linked with us. Not a player I'd touch, and I take it not a player you'd touch either.
Nah, he's the worst of the bunch, him. I thought you were going to say Isco, actually. I thought that was going to be the next one you were going to say. But yeah, Aaron Ramsey. He's played more in for Juventus than I thought. I did look up his numbers the other day, but he's played. I think it's 26% of their minutes, which is just don't touch it. I think he was a great player. If he didn't get all the injuries, he would have been a real top level Premier League player. I think I used to really like him, and I think even towards the end of his time at Arsenal, he looked like a good player. And that's why he's obviously gone to Juventus. But no, I don't know who he's going to go to. To be fair, no one comes off the top of my head. But yeah, I wouldn't touch Aaron Ramsey either, to be totally honest.
No, and speaking of Juventus centre mids, we're linked with Arthur as well today, which again I think sort of fits in the same type of mould. I've not really seen him do a lot since he left Barcelona. Certainly not in a Juventus top, but he fits the Everton mould. Once was a really good player towards the twilight years of his career, and would need a lot of money.
Yeah, I think just don't touch anyone who's going to want anything above a certain amount of money in the wages. Just don't get anywhere near them. That's not what Everton need now. Artur, I mean, he's done nothing in football, like let alone Juventus or whoever. He hasn't really done anything at all. So again, I wouldn't get anywhere near him, to be totally honest.
No, I agree. I mean, I know must be I can't believe these are Rafa Benitez signings either, which is the one that boggles my head the most. Because for all his criticisms, I don't see him being the type to sign play. He seems like a very much he'll sign what he trusts and sort of play what he trusts. Hence the Rondon and just Townsend sort of things. Damari Gray was a great pick, but those he tends to play players that he trusts, and there's a lot of players here that not only is he not might not have been involved with, but that they're a bit too. If James Rodriguez wasn't his cup of tea, then I don't think a Coutinho is going to be his cup of tea either, or an Isco, or anyone that seemed to be fancy and more of an attacking minded player.
Yeah, I think it's more just a case of paper talk. A lot of those names, I can't see us really going for them. They want to just link. I think they could see Everton being linked to all of these, and I think once upon a time Everton would have gone after any one of the names we've mentioned. But yeah, I don't think that's anyone Everton going to need to look at. We need to look for players who are on household names now. That's the kind of budget we're working, and we can't go after these lads. And I don't even think going after any of them would necessarily benefit us either. To be fair, I think they're the kind of players that a lot of teams wouldn't touch with a barge pole, and we need to make sure we're one of them.
Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned a good point that we're not mentioning in all these. Someone else has just says Hazard that we were linked with the other day, which I saw again. He goes right into that category. Luis Diaz, Wormy's put here, we were after him in the summer, but he's going to cost an awful lot now. He's had a really good season since that deal fell through.
Yeah, he's looked great every time he turned the Champions League on. He seemed to have scored, or I think Porto have lost a game at the minute in the Liga NOS, so he's having a great season. I think he actually won the Portuguese league. I think it was actually him and Matthias Nunes who we were linked to at the start of the last window. I think they won the attacker and midfielder of the year in Portugal. So yeah, it's classic Everton. I think we would have been all over him. We'd been able to shift hammers a bit earlier, and we could have really stretched the budget to go out and get him. But yeah, now he's out of our stratosphere now, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that. I knew he was a good player, but I didn't realise Nunes had done that well either. Jeez, that is so
Yeah, I
Everton.
believe so. Yeah.
Oh, that is. That's classic. You did mention though about money and budgets, and obviously financial fair play has been quite tough on us. Sort of all our chickens have came back to roost, really. Um, I mean, there's rumours. I don't know personally how it works. So I know you've got to balance your books or something, or but there were rumours the other day that we might have a little bit more leeway in January, if not this summer. There's rumours that this summer might be the summer the slate gets wiped clean again. Don't know that much about it, so I can't 100% say that's fact. Um, Out of curiosity, do you know how it works by any chance?
I did see something about a 3-year rule. Yeah. I don't really know, to be honest with you. I was saying to someone at work the other day that I think it might have been a 5-year rule, and you're looking at the 17, 18 summers being the one that really dogged us. But I'm like, I don't really know enough about it. I think what the Athletic need to do is come out and write something about all the intricacies on it and sort of set the record clean. Because I think people are going to say different years, different summers, different Januaries, whatever it's going to be. So I think people are going to come out with different figures. I did see 3 years the other day, though, from 2018. So whether that's true, I don't know. But we desperately need a clean slate, don't we?
Yeah, I think it doesn't help. I think UEFA have their own individual one as well, if I'm not mistaken, which obviously different organisations and regulations type thing. But I know UEFA had one that was like 3 years because I think Tifo did a video on it a couple of years back.
Yeah.
But if we had more money to spend, it currently looks like it'd be Rafa that spends it. Rafa and co, meaning Majiri and Kenwright if he fancies having a go. Although I don't think he gets much say anymore in player transfers.
I hope so.
But yeah, does that fill you with much hope that we have a January, potentially a summer of Benitez free reign, which is supposedly what he wanted all along?
No, it doesn't fill me with anything, to be honest with you, other than immense fear. I think if he's the man leading us, that's a massive worry. You look at some of the players he signed at Newcastle, obviously there's a different scenario there, but he signed an absolute dross whilst he was managing them. So, yeah, it does fill me with fear for what he goes after, and it's going to be interesting. Obviously, we just hope that it's that this left back is good and he's a start of a player we go after where we say, look, we're not going to buy anyone over 23. If they're over 23, then they're going to be phenomenal fees. They're going to be getting them back on track. We're going to be going for players who aren't playing in the best league, and we're going for lads who we're not going to get beaten off by the likes of Arsenal, like we were Gabriel and how we're not going to go for players who, once we look at them, they then they go bang like Luis Diaz as. We need to go out and be smart. And if Benitez can bring that to us, then brilliant. But that doesn't fill me with hope. You have to prove me on that.
No, obviously the other one is that it could be the other way, and it looks like it could be a tight January. I must admit, I'm very much in the camp of supposedly what Marcel Brands was, where business in January is always a bad idea because teams know you're desperate and they will put the pricing up because they know you know if you're desperate enough, you'll pay it. I mean, I'd be more open to the loan moves, I guess, for a couple of players with the option to buy if we really like it. But I feel like we're going to have to be really clever in this window, in the January one, because we can't sign nobody, surely.
Yeah, I think the loans is where we are going to need to sort of regroup and go for low risk, high rewards. Maitland Niles, I'm not sure when his deal expires. If it's not this summer, then just go get him straight away. Bring him in. Say to Arsenal, you can recall him. You can't play against you. We'll pay most of his wages, whatever it might be. Just do anything we can to get him in. He's got a couple of lads in January. It's the left back and Maitland Niles, and I think instantly we look a lot better. So, I said it's not a market that you want to shop in. But funnily enough, though, if anyone comes in for Lucas Digne in January, we can then say, well, it's January, isn't it? So you have to give us 35, 40 million or whatever. That's how we have to play it. That's the hope that we go after loans, low risk, high reward. That's what we really need to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've got to be really careful. One thing I did see the other day, and I've got to agree on, is obviously we've mentioned the whole plethora of stuff, but we mentioned Majiri and the fan protests and fans aren't happy. And one of the things I saw somebody say is sort of the fans are sort of bent over a barrel a little bit in the fact that nobody's, the season ticket prices aren't frozen next year, so they're going to go up, but nobody's going to not buy them regardless because Bramley Moore is, I think it's meant to be 4 more years away, is it? 3 more years away?
3 years, yeah.
Do you think that is sort of putting fans in an awkward spot? Do you think that's the reason we're not seeing, lack of ticket sales and, compared in season tickets? Because I think they make up the majority of the Goodison Park. I can't remember the word for crowd, but yeah,
the attendance, you know.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Remember it for the life of me.
Well, I think that they know that Everton is going to buy tickets no matter what. So yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? But it's a lot of money. I think people are starting to realise that now. You spend a lot of money on Everton, going the home games, going the away games, travelling up and down the country every week. It's a lot of money, and they really shouldn't be taking the piss because Everton fans have been the ones who have looked after their club as well as anyone during these times. It's one of those, though. I think everyone accepts that money is going to go up. Everton need money, and because of COVID and everything, money is it's more crucial than ever in getting people through the doors and stuff. So it's an awkward scenario, but as I say, I think I don't know whether it's common practice for teams who move stadiums to lift the prices up. I'm not sure that's true or not. I'd have to look into that, but it is certainly not something I'm a massive fan of. You just need to make sure they really don't take the piss.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's sort of. I don't think it'll help either with the publicity, like you're saying. Nobody wants bad publicity at the club. Certainly not Moshiri. Sort of the fan base at the minute is a bit like an angry bear, anyways. So going around poking at it even more, the sharp stick isn't going to do him any favors. And if he thinks the banner, the odd banner at Chelsea's bad, it could get a lot worse. You could see fans, starting protests outside Goodison on match days and everything. Which, depending on the TV deal as well, if they do it like for Monday night, for example, if they do it for a Monday night game, you've got the whole nation and the rest of the world, depending on how far Sky reach, watching you then, which is never what businessmen want at the least. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I only mentioned it because someone said here that they might be reducing the capacity. I think that's because of COVID-19. And Everton have confirmed they're going to do a ticketing plan for that. While we're on the fact of that, someone mentioned it before. Obviously, the Premier League have now announced that there's no plans as of yet to suspend the league. I think it's something like you can have 13 players or something, and you can use the youth as well.
Yeah. It's actually pretty bad, I think.
Yeah, is that something you're for? Are you glad to see the league staying?
It's one. It depends because I can't do football with no crowd again. That was just tragic. Never want to watch that again. I was all for a circuit breaker because I was just kind of thinking, well, it keeps fans safe. It means people aren't being forced to go out around the worst time of year for illness and virus and all things like that anyway in the winter time. And I just think, what's the point of players if teams have to put 15-year-olds on the bench like Leeds did? I know that wasn't a COVID scenario, but if they were to get hit by COVID, then they'd be absolutely, well, they're snookered anyway, aren't they? But and they would have been double digits against Man City, for example, if they had 3 or 4 of their best players out with the virus. And obviously, you've got to look at it from our perspective. He said to us, well, going to a game, you lose Pickford, you lose, maybe not Mina, if you lose Pickford, or you lose Coleman, and you lose Richarlison, Decore, Gray, or whatever through COVID, then you straight away you just derailed consistently and all over the park, and it's massively unfair. So I was all for a little break, to be honest. I just think it's going to be a bit silly. Look at Germany are already on a break, for example, and they're incredibly stringent over their sort of vaccine rules and all that sort of thing. So I think we needed to sort of follow the lead of other leagues who are a bit smarter. It doesn't just say, look, just break it up for a week or 2. You don't want to because you want things to go back to normal, but you kind of got to accept that the football is going to deteriorate because people are going to play players who have never played a game before and stuff like that. So I'd be surprised if we just carry on and at no point does it break up, because I think there will be a week or 2 where they put it on breaks.
Yeah. I mean, we've put in 90 positive COVID tests in the Premier League today. which is the highest to date. I think, I'm going to assume it's purely the money. There's the reason they're keeping it alive. Broadcast, TV's broadcast won't be happy if we, suspend it. There's no point doing it behind closed doors because it seems to be spread between the players. So, behind closed doors doesn't fix that either. I can see them doing it for another couple of. I think if we're still having these type of record highs in 2 weeks, I think the Premier League will be asked awkward questions by members of the media in regards to why it's still being allowed to continue. It is interesting to know that a lot of the players are vaccinated now, though. I think in the 90s, in terms of 92% have been vaccinated, according to the Premier League, in players and staff. 92 have received 1 dose, 2 to 3 is 84%. But it's still quite an alarming worry in the Premier League. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. To be honest, 2 weeks without Everton, I could live with.
Yeah, I could live quite happily with low blood pressure, or maybe not low blood pressure, but low blood pressure, lower heart rate, and stuff like that. Still want to be low enough that I can survive and stuff. But yeah, this weekend's been really nice. Not having to worry about Everton. It's been great, especially when you see the teams below us, how depressing that is. But see the teams below us get beat and stuff. So yeah, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I was watching it this weekend, watching a bit of football, and I was like, it's just nice to watch it as a neutral, and not be that fussed about it, and then not have the dread that Everton play tomorrow, and it could completely curtail your weekend if you're not careful.
Yeah.
I must admit, I watched the Chelsea one in the pub with my family, and I was like, it was just coincidentally on, and I was thinking, I really can't be bothered sitting here if this goes, 4-0 at half time, and luckily it didn't. But yeah, speaking of the Chelsea game, the obviously the youth was a massive plus. It was really good to see, Anthony Gordon played well, Branthwaite played really well. I didn't think Ellis Sims and Dobbin did that badly. Considering they were sort of thrown in the deep end, they're thrown in against the champions of Europe. It's quite a deep end to be chucked into. Who impressed you in the youth? Even John Joe Kenny got some run out. Who impressed you? Who would you like to see now continue more? For instance, the strikers, would you rather see a bit more of them instead of Solomon Rondon?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I watched sort of like an hour long extended highlights or whatever of the game, and you get a good feel for it. Cuts out a lot of the rubbish as well. I thought Branthwaite looked really good, really composed. I've wanted him to be playing for a little while now. Left-footed, tall, strong, quick, good on the ball, got everything, I think. And I think he had a good loan last year. Just getting in there, I think that perfect for us. I'd rather him be in there than say Mason Holgate, who's had countless opportunities playing for Everton. We need his height as well, especially when Mina doesn't play. We're incredibly sure football team if Mina's not on the pitch. I thought Kenny did well. I was worried about him because he's not going to get ahead of Seamus Coleman, then what's the point in playing for Everton? But I thought he did well. Andy Gordon, really good, really lively. Had not quite the moment that I want to have, which is a goal and to play a really solid 90 minutes, but I thought he was good. Got his assist and he's building up to, I think he's going to score a goal soon enough, which is what we want to see. I thought Sims held the ball up well enough at times. He's playing against Thiago Silva, like he may be 36, 37, but he's still a top centre half, and he's got all the nous. He's nearly twice the lad's age, so I wouldn't read too much into him. And I thought Dobbin looked lively as well when he came on. I was pleased with him as well. So I'd rather have both of them over Solomon Rondon any day of the week. And I think Branthwaite is the next one who's going to really come into this first 11. Gordon's already made it, I'd say. And I'm interested to see John Joe Kenny. I'd like him to play a bit more than Pickford, certainly. So that's probably what I'd go for.
Yeah, I mean, and Branthwaite and, to be fair, John Joe Kenny have sort of a good time to get in because our back four, Mina's out. Lucas Digne, for whatever reason, isn't playing. So there is, there's a really good chance for those two lads, certainly, to push the manager to have to play them.
Yeah, definitely. I think you look at the sort of fan reaction to Rondon coming on the other week. I think if he sees that and just thinks, what's the point in losing my job over Solomon Rondon, who barring a good bit of strikers play for 10 seconds against Crystal Palace, has done nothing since he's been at Everton. So play the kids, give them the chances. That's who we want to see. And if Benitez can walk away from Everton at the end of the season and say he gave 1,000 league minutes to Branthwaite, to Gordon, to Sims, and to Dobbin, then that's a feather in his cap as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially we're in an era where we're on about how little transfers we're going to be able to make because of financial fair play, or you sort of you need to look at your youth a little bit more in these aspects. And like you said, I'd like to see a couple more of them. Branthwaite get loads of time. I'd love to see John Joe Kenny get a little bit more because he's been written off already. I'd like to see him just have a couple more games before he's completely been written off, just to see if he can come back from it.
Yeah, as I say, we can't get ahead of Coleman. He must be really crap. So give him an opportunity, get him in there. He got injured when he had a chance under Koeman, which was unfortunate. But I'd rather him play there in the centre half, or a crooked Coleman, or even worse, Mason Holgate go in there. So absolutely, give him a go. He's never going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I know they came through at the same time playing for Everton, which is unfortunate because his stratosphere behind him. But yeah, get him in there. I'd rather him than the current iteration of Coleman.
Yeah. I mean, he probably run a little bit better as well. Sometimes Coleman looks like he's lost his legs a little bit. One of the questions I will ask is the manager seat. Say now he does go. I'm just going to give you a couple of names. The first one is Duncan Ferguson. Would you take him as Everton manager?
No, I don't think so. I love the time he was in charge, but it's just a bit too over the top. It's a bit too sort of. I think you got about 4 players injured because they're working so hard for him, and it's just not gonna work over a season. So I'd love to see him go somewhere else and do well. I think he needs to go and prove himself properly somewhere else. I think we played some really, really bad football when he was in charge. It was like 1920s football, which is fine. It's what we need, and I loved him for it. I love being at the Leicester game. I know we lost in the end, but that game and the Chelsea game, but yeah, we got a good point at United and Arsenal, so he did well. But I think he needed to probably go in the summer, or maybe last summer even, and just sort of cut his teeth somewhere if he wants to be a manager. Because I just can't ever envisage him taking us anywhere. To be totally honest, so that's for me anyway.
Wayne Rooney.
I think he's doing really well at Derby. I'd like to see him go somewhere else though first. I think we went to team higher up in the Championship, and maybe not higher up, but he went to a team and took them from bottom end and got them promoted, then that'd be really interesting because I think you'd see for first hand there that he's doing well. But I think the scenarios in the Derby, he's done really well so far. If they were to get relegated and he has to battle them back up, then that'd be really, really good for him. But not at the minute now.
No, I mean, Simon Jordan on TalkSport said he was a minnower in terms of football managering, and he needs to go and earn his stripes somewhere, which you could use for both him and Dunk. Really, they need to go earn their stripes somewhere else before they get the job. I mean, who was the other one that was linked with us? The Danish manager. He was quite heavily linked with us at one point.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you anything he's done, to be honest. I know obviously he managed Denmark got to the semis of the Euros, didn't he? Look like they were quite good. Did that without Christian Eriksen. I think they played a 5-back, didn't they? They had that Myler playing left wing back, which looked good. I couldn't give you any information on him. I don't even know what his name is, to be totally honest. But someone like that, forward thinking, someone who's proven done it somewhere, would be someone I'd look into for sure. So I think I need to research him a bit more before I gave it a full on verdict, to be fair.
Final one, Graham Potter.
Yeah, I love Graham Potter. I think he's gonna be a really good manager. Would have loved him in the summer. I'd be all for him, but I don't see it happening. But I think he'd be perfect for Everton, to be totally honest with you. Proved himself in the Premier League. Looks like he's ready to blow up, I think, if he just gets the right balance at Brighton. I'm not sure our fans would have the patience for him, but I'd be all for him if he'd get him, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm the same. Would absolutely love him. Him and like Lewis Campos as director of football would be my dream. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll happen. And like you said, he's a manager that if he came to us, like you say, he's about to blow up at Brighton, but he's took a couple of years to build that. And if he came to us, you'd have to give him those couple of years to build here. And I don't know if we've got the patience as a fan base for it. And when you're building, you'll always have disasters on the way up. And it's whether he could, the fans are given that time when these, disasters happen. I'd really like to see him, but ultimately, I think we're just holding out. The one last one is, and I think this is the most Majiri one that you can see coming, is the rumours that we're watching what happens at Roma very, very carefully.
God, needn't bother, genuinely. Don't go anywhere near Jose Mourinho. He's the man on the way down. He is the most. I think he has to just work it out at Roma, because if he leaves Roma, there's a failure. He's done. Just don't touch him with a barge pole.
Yeah, he just screams a Majiri signing there, doesn't he? He's that Hollywood manager that he's dead after. I mean, a couple of Nuno. I tell you what, Nuno. I wouldn't be shocked if we sacked Benitez and went back for him. I wouldn't have him, but I could see that being another one, because he was nailed on to get the job in the summer and sort of fizzed away.
He's a disaster. Him. Don't go anywhere near him. I think the way he wants to manage football is only going to be work for a team who shouldn't be where they got Wolves. He's only going to work for someone who is just happy to be there, happy to be in the Premier League team he's going to work for, unless he changes it. But I think Jamie Carragher hit the nail on the head. He just was never right for Tottenham, never right for us. I'd keep Benitez. I was getting Nuno, genuinely. And I can't stand Benitez, so yeah, don't touch him.
Favre or Lampard, they people seem to quite like them.
Favre, yeah, definitely. I'd be all over Favre. I think he's a bit old now, but I think the job he did at Gladbach and Nice, and even Dortmund to a degree, I think he should have led Dortmund to the title, but I think they came back with Nico Kovac in the end and won it. But I think Favre definitely, Lampard no. He's got to go to. He can't fall upwards, not fall upwards necessarily in terms of, I know he's at Chelsea, but once you get sacked by Chelsea, he needs, and the scenario he found himself in, where he had one season of management, I just think he needs to go to, if Potter's leave Brighton, go to Brighton maybe, Southampton, anyone like that, I'm not sure, but just, yeah, not ready for Everton yet, and I'm not a massive fan of what I've seen of him on the touchline, I have to say, so I wouldn't touch Lampard, but Favre would be my choice, I think.
Yeah, he seems to be very good. Like you said, his record sort of proves it. He's meant to be quite good with transfers as well, picking out players, which would be massive. I think if you got someone like him, you wouldn't be in a massive rush if you were Majiri to find a director of football, because you'd sort of safe pair of hands at that. I agree with you. Still, the model works, and you should still have one. But if you had someone like that, I think it'd sort of be a bit like, all right, don't rush. You've got a man who knows what he's doing. Just take your time and get the right guy. As opposed to, just, are you a director of football? Yes, please have this job, which I'm worried we're going to fall in line to if we're not careful. But yeah, I agree. I don't know why we didn't go for him in the summer, because he pulled out of the Crystal Palace gig, didn't he? And said he wants a longer break from football, which I don't buy. I think he just realised he was linked with us and didn't want to, put all his eggs in that basket.
Yeah. I'd be all over Favre, to be honest. I think you'll find people on Twitter I follow who said for years that Favre, so go get him. As far as I'm concerned, I'd be all over him, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is all we've got time for today, though. I just want to say, don't forget to like the stream for everyone who liked it, and subscribe if you're not. We're so close to 10,000 subscribers. So please do that and share it with your friends, your family, your mums, your dads, your uncles, your sisters, everyone and anyone. I'd really appreciate that. James, thank you so much for coming on to talk to me, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No worries. Nice one, Connor. Cheers.
No worries. And for everyone watching on YouTube, don't forget to like it. Like I said, subscribe. For all your football stuff, if you want any Everton stuff, there's a link in the description from the Everton Direct shop. There's a link for Christmas jumpers as well. We're only 5 days away from that now, so get them in. And we teamed up with Retro Score, so check them out as well and stay safe.